Hello, Watem here, welcome back to more Umineko When Seagulls Cry. Let us continue.
使用人が一番怪しい。
物的証拠があるわけではありませんから、縛ってクローゼットに放り込むわけにもいきません。ですから銃を持った皆さんの常に目に届くところに置いて、よく見張る必要があります。
兄貴、マスターキーも回収した方がいい。あの密室も使用人たち以外には作れるわけがないんだ。使用人たちしか知らない構造や道具などできっとチェーンロックをどうにかできたに違いない。
皆長く勤めてくれているものばかりだ。
Erica is creating the ideal situation if they're behind it.
私には到底彼らが殺人を犯すとは思えんのだ。
金蔵さんの寿命もわずかで、遺産問題で大きく揺れているそうですね。それに加え10トンの黄金がどこかに隠されているなんて話もあるそうじゃないですか。それらの分け前にありつけるなら、人は罪を犯せるかもしれません。
考えたくはないが、クソ親父のおかしなオカルト儀式って可能性もある。片翼の使用人たちは親父の手先で殺人の実行者かもな。親父はどうなんだ？
Yeah, how about him, Kinzo?
まだ連絡は取れないのか？
Gross.
内線電話も通じないのだ。
Interesting.
犯人に壊されたのかもしれない。それに親父殿は不機嫌になると電話の受話器を外していることがよくある。ノックをしてもその不機嫌な返事があるだけだった。連絡は取れんが、あの書斎はシェルターも同然だ。むしろ安全だから閉じこもってくれた方がいいだろう。
Flustered, Kraus tried to explain away Kinzo's silence. Adler, the game master, hadn't made Kinzo's death a major theme for this game, so the conversation didn't progress any further at this point. They stopped talking about Kinzo without Rudolph thinking anything was particularly suspicious.
いずれにせよ使用人たちを野放しにはできねえ。それでさっき秀吉兄さんとも相談したんだが、2階に2部屋に分かれて全員で籠城しようということになったんだ。
なぜ2部屋なのかね。1部屋の方が心強いだろうな。
さすがに一部屋に12人もの人間では窒息します。
I might be able to do it in the cousin's room. That seemed to be fairly large.
そして最も注意すべき人物だけを隔離したいという思惑もあります。使用人の頭である源氏さん、一番体格のいい豪太さん、若輩とはいえカノンさんも男性です。
この3人を特にマークすべきだと思う。そこでこの3人を隔離し、俺と兄貴で監視する。2丁の銃、俺と兄貴ならとっさの時連携もできる。少しでもおかしな動きを見せたらズドンだ。
分かった、そうしよう。だがルドルフ、彼らが犯人であると決まったわけではない。あまり高圧的にはなるな。
兄貴に高圧的になるなか。そりゃ俺たちも老けるわけだぜ。
今上で秀吉さんに部屋分けをしてもらっています。隔離者たちをいとこ部屋に集め、他はその隣の部屋へ集めます。
そうだ兄貴、ジェシカちゃんなんだが、兄貴と一緒の部屋がいいと言って聞かない。
Interesting. Now, why is that? Hmm.
ジェシカ。
隔離のいとこ部屋が5人、隣の部屋7人の部屋割りでしたからね。
Not the other way around? If a cousin room sounded like it was a big room, I wouldn't necessarily expect the next room over to be bigger than it.
ジェシカさんがいとこ部屋を希望するなら、ちょうど半々になります。狼と羊のパズルで言うなら、今は使用人狼が3匹に、クラウスさん、ルドルフさんの羊が2匹。ジェシカさんを加えた方が確かにバランスがいいとは思います。
For a while, Kraus crossed his arms and thought. The cousin room would surely be more dangerous, so he wanted his daughter to go into the next room over. However, in an emergency like this, he wanted to have his daughter where he could see her.
一緒にいさせたらどうだ。俺たちが良い父、良い叔父でいるために必要なリミッターの役かもしれねえぜ。
そうだな。私も今は理性的なふりをしている。しかしいつ妻を失った悲しみを怒りに置き換えないとは限らん。
Also, who was it that said that? Oh, it was Rudolph. How do you know about that? The current situation. Even without any physical evidence, the servants are certainly the most suspicious. During the long wait, the two men's weariness and anger and sadness might make them lose their reason and act out in anger. After thinking deeply, Kraus decided to accept Jessica's request, in part to prevent such a thing from happening.
それがいいと思います。私も賛成です。
同感だ。子供を失うのは俺とローザだけで十分だ。
ルドルフ。
In this way, all of the survivors except Kinzo split into two groups and holed up in two rooms on the guest house's second floor. Yes, all of the survivors except Kinzo, because he's totally in that group. One group was in the cousin room. Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Cannon, and Gorda. 6 people. One group was in the next room over. Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, Nanjo, and Erika. 6 people here too. George and Shannon together. Okay. Which then means... yeah, Cannon and Jessica are together. Perhaps as the result of the killer's story, the external phone line had been cut off. They would have to wait for the ferry boat coming the next day before they could contact the police. However, the weather report said that the typhoon would make the ocean rough all the next day. When such a thing happens, the ferry boat takes the day off. So it would probably be 2 days before the boat came. In other words, they would need to spend a full 2 nights holed up in the room. While Erica and the others held their planning meeting in the lounge, food and blankets had been brought in to prepare for the siege. It would probably make more sense to be able to like if Kraus, Rudolph, and Hideyoshi actually trust each other fully. It makes more sense for them to rotate in shifts, so then they can actually stay awake for long enough. But I think Erica's trying to go for a quicker game, like she has previously. And also because of Clock Big. The sudden tragedy had everyone on edge, but it was already well after 2 in the morning. They really suspected the servants, and the observers couldn't afford to fall asleep at the same time. Either Kraus or Rudolph should probably take a nap right away.
さすがだな。探偵権限がないにもかかわらず、うまく場を支配しているぜ。
冷静を書いた男など、感情むき出しの犬と同じです。
I can't help but feel like your arrogance will be your downfall yet again.
適切に扱えば、簡単にコントロール可能です。
One of the benefits of a detective's authority was being able to take charge of the situation. Because of this, Erica, who was both a guest and a young girl, had been able to order a large number of adults around at will. However, she didn't have that power this time. So, Erica had taken charge by making good use of her natural conversation skills and techniques for controlling men.
探偵権限も魔法と同じだな。できないことはやれないってわけだ。
I do wonder which room is... Erica's in the room with Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Commissar, Nanjo, and Erica. Okay. I wonder if she's going to use one of the sets of tape on this room, cousin's room.
エリカにそれだけの力があったから認められていたというわけか。
魔法とは決して怠惰で無力な人間に与えられるものではないのですね。
そうだ。むしろ人知れぬ努力を隠せるやつこそが魔女と呼べるんだろうぜ。
The absolute nature of the detective's authority can affect even magic. However, that convenient power probably hadn't been given to Erica easily. I probably have to acknowledge it. Even if she isn't given a special power by the witch she serves, she's capable of quite a lot on her own.
しかしエリカ、どうして2部屋に分けた？てっきり1部屋に全員を集めるとばかり思っていたぜ。
So, I think what Erica's wanting to do is to give them the impression that they can get away with something. Meanwhile, if they're all in one room, then there's no opportunity for them to try to do something. So give them the impression that there's something they can do, and then bust a trap on them.
探偵権限があればそうしました。
Interesting.
これは自由捜査権を確保するための一手です。
ああ、そういうことか。なるほど。やるな。
Since Erica was being protected as a guest, it was hard for her to move about freely. In truth, she wanted to take some time and investigate the victims of the crime scenes at her leisure, without being interrupted by anyone. She'd already inspected the scenes once, in a huge rush as she ran through the mansion. That probably hadn't been perfect. However, they wouldn't have let a guest into the crime scenes, so she had no other choice back then. She wanted some time to herself and freedom to investigate more. Part so that she could check for closed rooms and causes of death more closely.
それが2部屋に分かれて籠城するのとどう関係があるのでしょう。
そこは奴が口車でうまいことやるのさ。
Get both sides to think that she's with the other room?
見てな。
ええ、そのためだけに2部屋に分けたのですから。
Okay, so I guess in this section, wherever it was, yeah, in this one, that's from someone's point of view. Because otherwise it's they've... Oh, yeah, both people that she was talking to are in this group. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. They think she's in this one, or she's told them that she's in this one. Meanwhile, she's previously told Hideyoshi that she's in this one. The cousin room was filled with a quiet tension. This room had 6 people: Klaus, Jessica, and Rudolph. And then the most suspicious ones, the male servants Genji, Kanon, and Goda, who had been forced to haul up in here. Jessica leaned against Kraus's shoulder, wrapped up in a blanket. Drowsy, but apparently couldn't get to sleep. No surprise. In this bizarre situation, it would probably take some time before she could accept her mother's death. Kanon thought that this was the sort of time he should stay by Jessica's side. That looked like it would be hard to do in front of Rudolph's intimidating glare. Rudolph stayed completely silent, but his inner emotions showed clearly in his eyes. So, Genji, Kanon, and Goda didn't have to ask to realize that they were suspected. Sometimes Goda asked to help in an attempt to get on their good side and correct this misunderstanding, but it seemed to be having the opposite effect. The best option available to him would be to shut up, just to stay quiet so that he didn't aggravate Rudolph, and sit still at the end of the sofa. In the next room over, there were also 6 people. Oh. This is still from their perspective, right? Erika, Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Nanjo, and Kumasawa. The format of the room and the constricted atmosphere were the same as the cousin room. Even so, it was relatively calm there. Okay, so she is in there. Interesting. George sat holding Shannon, who was darkly hanging her head the whole time. Kumasawa and Nanjo sat nervously as they listened to Hideyoshi explain the situation.
敵が何人いるかもわからんのや。しかし、わしらにはこうして銃がある。もちろん撃ったこともあるで。
That's totally the thing that someone who shot guns before has said.
ハワイ射撃センターとちゃうで。わしな、もう時効だから白状するが、進駐軍のピストルをぶっ放して単価を切ったこともあるんやで。当時の闇市は外国人ヤクザが牛耳っとってな。
Probably wanted to make everyone feel secure by convincing them that he could be relied upon. Hideyoshi went into one of its old stories that everyone had heard many times. She'd gotten more extravagant each time they'd heard it. It didn't make them any more confident in Hideyoshi's abilities, but it did seem to calm things down a little by bringing in a sense of normality.
どうしてこんな事件が。明日船が来られればいいのですが。
明日は難しいでしょうな。二晩の長丁場になりそうだ。とにかくこういう時はしっかり睡眠をとりましょう。
この状況ですやすや眠れるほど僕の神経は太くないよ。
ジョージ様。
The pain and anger of losing his mother quietly tormented George. Sleepiness probably wouldn't be coming to him for a while. Ah yes, the pain and anger of losing his mother that he totally didn't kill. Or I mean, he totally did kill. Erika suddenly clapped her hands as though she had just remembered something, and whispered in Hideyoshi's ear, interrupting the old story, which he had grown quite engrossed with.
すみません。ちょっといとこ部屋へ行ってきます。ちょっとどうしても向こうの使用人の方たちに確認したいことがありまして。
なんや、電話ではあかんのか。部屋番号をダイヤルするだけやで。
ほら、 お忘れですか？
The internal line's been cut?
電話、どうも犯人に壊されてるみたいですし。
Has she tried it?
なんやひょっとして彼らの証言に何か矛盾でも気づいたっちゅうか。
Up until this point, Erica had spent a lot of time giving the impression that she behaved like a detective. So, Hideyoshi immediately assumed that this was something vital to do with the crime.
簡単な確認ですが、ひょっとすると大きなほころびを出すかもしれません。ちょっと行ってきます。誰も部屋から出さないでください。
隣の部屋とはいえ一人は不用心やで。誰か男を連れてった方がええんとちゃうか。
He's very sure.
使用人たちも南條さんも完全には信用できません。秀吉さんはこの部屋の責任者。ジョージさんも秀吉さんをサポートできる優秀な男手です。誰も避けません。大丈夫です。探偵は襲われないって決まってますから。
Erica had already worked hard to look like a sharp, clear-headed person. Hideyoshi's relaxed and agreed, thinking that it was just next door and wouldn't be a problem.
小1時間ほどで、いや、あまりうろちょろするのも不用心ですね。朝まで隣にいます。
Okay, so this is how she's going to do it. And she said this to make sure that no one actually tests the phones.
明るくなってから戻ってくる方がいいですよね。
その通りや。気をつけてな。
お隣の部屋に行くだけなのに。この部屋よろしくお願いします。誰も外へ出さないでください。この部屋を出るあらゆる理由がないよう、あらゆるものを運び込んだのですから。
Food, drinks, blankets, medicine, towels, tissue paper, everything. Women also had their cosmetic pouches. You could last 48 hours without lacking for anything.
わかっとる。この部屋におるんは身を守るためだけやない。ひょっとしたらおるかもしれない犯人を見張る意味もあるのをよくわかっとる。
Said the thing.
グッドです。ではどうかよろしくお願いします。
エリカちゃん、どこへ？表には誰も出ない約束だよ。
ああ、エリカちゃんはちょいと特別な用事を思い出してな。隣へ行く。大丈夫、平気や。
Hideyoshi suspected that Shannon might be one of the culprits, since he also knew that Shannon and George had a special relationship. He apparently thought it would be prudent to mislead George about Erica's actions and motives. Hideyoshi slowly opened the door and checked both ways down the corridor, his gun raised.
大丈夫。誰もおらんで。
ここまでで結構です。あなたが部屋を出ると同時にシャノンさんが豹変してジョージさんを人質に取らないとも限りませんよ。
Make sure that he doesn't watch her enter the other room.
今こうして彼らに背中を向けているのさえ少々不用心です。
せやな。じゃあ用心するんやで。後でわしにも話を聞かせてや。
はい、それでは。
Erica closed the door, pushing Hideyoshi back inside. She then waited for the sound of a lock on the inside, and her smiling eyes opened wide. Her expression had become ruthless and intelligent. This way, Erica was able to gain several hours, during which all of the suspects were sealed up and she alone was free.
ようやく自由捜査権を得ました。その前に後ろ宮バトラ、
フルネームで呼ぶな。
ここで登場人物全員の所在確認をさせてください。復唱要求です。
So that she doesn't actually have to go into the other room.
無論これにも答える義務はねえぜ。
その場合は私が見てない間に部屋を抜け出し、その人物が今後起こるだろう不思議な事件の実行者だと主張しきるだけです。不可能犯罪を見せたいならまずは所在確認に応じるべきです。
いいだろう。
I was thinking, yeah, he can always deny that and read later.
一応は聞いてやるぜ。言ってみろ。
いとこ部屋に対し隣の籠城部屋をこれより隣部屋と呼称します。よろしいですね。
わかりやすい。了解した。それで
今からする所在確認は生死を問いません。体の所在と考えてください。
Why are you adding that stipulation?
そしてもちろん現時点でのことです。では参ります。第1の番の犠牲者6人の所在は発見場所の通りである。夏日は自室、エヴァは貴賓室、キリエはクラウスの書斎、ローザとマリアは客間で、あんたは客室。まさかこの時点でもうこの程度のことも復唱拒否ですか？
いいぜ。それを認める。
They've already been confirmed to be dead, right? First off, it was acknowledged that the victims' locations were the same as the rooms they'd been shown by the Witch's Side illusion.
グッと続けます。隣部屋に所在するのは秀吉、ジョージ、シャノン、熊沢、南條である。
Wait. I think I got the exact wording here. So, what I wrote down, it has all deaths were homicide. But I don't think it said that everyone was dead, necessarily. Hmm.
認める。
And that, the humans in the room Erica had just left, had been specified. And now she's going to seal those rooms, perhaps? I would use 2 of her sets of tape. It feels like it's a waste. Carefully checking even obvious things like that was the most basic part of playing on the human side.
グッと続けます。いとこ部屋に所在するのはそれ以外の全員である。
That sounds ambiguous enough. Word everyone drew a slight reaction from battle. The intuition he'd built up from all his previous games told him not to answer this one instantly.
拒否する。
Ooh.
それを認めるって言うと、金蔵の遺体もいとこ部屋の中にあるって論法になっちまうからな。
失礼。
Where is Kinzo's body being held?
金蔵はすでに存在しないことが確定していますから、全員という言葉からは抜いて考えてください。
Well, you had said... Can I check everyone's locations as I'm about to? I'm not concerned with whether they're alive or dead. Think of it as the location of their body.
なぜいとこ部屋だけ全員という言い クラウス以下6人の名前を個別に挙げて所在確認をすればいいのに、なぜそんなアバウトな言い方で？
That's a good question, which I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you've enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments, and until next time.